Mogul Motivation, empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs and dream chasers worldwide, 1 week at a time. Presented by True Stories Media, and I'm your host, Antoine Twiz Taylor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mogul Motivation. This is episode 289. Last week's episode, Keep the Pace, I started off by talking about how I had received an email that pissed me off and discouraged me and frustrated me. And just for full transparency, that email was in regards to a business grant. This is a business grant that I know I met all of the criteria. This is a business grant I know I was qualified for. This is a business grant that I feel like I should have gotten. But I didn't. I was denied. And it's crazy because I apply for business grants all the time and I'm always denied. It's weird. Like, of course, they send follow-up reasons on why you didn't get the grant, all that bullshit. But, yeah, I never got a business grant. And, we're dealing with the pandemic. We're dealing with, a time where a lot of businesses are suffering, things like that. And I can honestly say my business hasn't suffered too much due to the pandemic. It has taken a hit. A couple weddings that we had scheduled in 2020 were rescheduled for 2021. One is still in limbo. We don't know when that wedding will actually take place. A lot of events have slowed down, but nevertheless, my photography business has still been bringing in revenue to where I can still pay my bills and, live my life. So I'm grateful for that. So on one hand, I look at it, maybe there is a deserving business that needed that grant. And on the other hand, I'm looking at it like, you do have a lot of scammers. You have a lot of people out here scheming that's getting business grants. They don't even have a business at all. So this is where my mind was going between those two extremes. And, nevertheless, I just felt discouraged. I felt that I should have gotten that business grant because I had plans. I didn't make plans for it, but I know what I could have done with that grant had I received it, if that makes sense. So I was frustrated. I received that email right before I recorded last week's episode, and I had to tell myself I got to keep the pace. I still have things to do. I still have a business to run. I still have goals to accomplish. So grant or no grant, I got to keep the pace and I got to continue to make it happen. And that's what I proceeded to tell all of you out there that's listening to the podcast. And then even after that episode, even after I recorded that episode, after I released that episode, I was still frustrated. I was still discouraged. Yes, I kept my pace, but I was still feeling away because I was denied this business grant because it didn't make sense, right? It didn't make sense why I did not get the grant because, again, I know I met the criteria. My business met the criteria and I still didn't get it. It just didn't make sense to me. So I had to really sit down and I had to have a serious talk with myself. I had to have a serious meditation and I had to have serious prayer time to figure out why was I mad and figure out why didn't I get the grant. And this is what I came up with. I had a talk with God. My business continued to go strong after I received that news. My photography bookings, whether it's for photo sessions, whether it's for real estate sessions, continue to grow. I remained busy that entire week, and my foreseeable future in my business is busier than ever. And I remember it was a time when I first started out 10 years ago where I would pray for moments like this, where I would pray that, I would be booked and busy and that the abundance and the overflow would come. It was a time when I would go months without receiving a photography client. It would go times where I was broke. I share a screenshot often on my social media pages where I was nearly $500 in the negative in my bank account. It was times when I would pray for times like this. This happened before, during, and after I was denied that business grant. My business has been booming consistently for about 3 years now. So what I came up with is God told me, bruh, don't you see what I'm doing? Don't you see that I'm making it happen for you already? You didn't get the grant because you don't need the grant. You think that grant is going to help you? I already helped you. You think that grant is going to push you to the next level? I'm already pushing you to the next level. This is what I heard from God. And then he went deeper and he said, you know what? I'm the same God that helped you out when you was the only child and you was alone back in the day. I'm the same God that gave you these ideas. I'm the same God that gave you this creativity. I'm the same God that kept you sane in all of those dark times in your life. I'm that same God then, and I'm the same God now. Why are you tripping over a business grant? And then he said, you know what? I can get out your business. I'm the same God that brought the Hebrews out of Egypt. I'm the same God that parted the Red Sea. I'm the same God that made all those things happen in that Bible that you read. I'm the same God that saved David when Saul was on his ass. I'm that same God. This is what I had to come up with when I had to go into my meditation and my prayer time on why I was still irritated and frustrated because I didn't get that business grant. I didn't get the business grant simply because I don't need the business grant. Period. That's why I didn't get it. And I'm frustrated because I put more trust in man-made systems than what I put in God. Because again, I'm grateful that I can honestly say that throughout the pandemic, my business has not been hit. I'm grateful that I have still been able to generate revenue and profits to take care of myself and pay my bills and do everything that I want to do. I'm not where I want to be yet. No, I'm not a millionaire yet. No, I'm not still at the accomplishment or the level that I want to be at, but I'm still getting there. And it's all because of God's favor. It's all because God is my biggest financer. He's my angel investor. So I had to really do a deep introspection, and I had to say, you know what? Fuck that email. Fuck that grant. I'm good. I'm still making it happen, and it's all thanks to God. So I can't forget what God has done for me, and I have to remember what he's doing for me now and what he's going to do for me in the future. You see, when you get denied something in your life, in your entrepreneurial journey, you have to start remembering the things that God has done for you in the past, the things he's done for your business in the past. You sometimes might get denied. You sometimes might get declined, so you don't forget. Because when you forget, you start to put trust in things that don't matter. When you forget, you start to trust things that are going to let you down. When you forget about the blessings that have occurred for you in the past, never forget, ladies and gentlemen, about the good things that have happened to you in your past, in your life, and in your business. Because if you never forget that, then surely you know great things are going to happen to you in the present and great things are going to happen for you in the future. Surely you know these things to be true. So it sucks that you might get denied. It sucks you might get declined. It sucks hearing that D word all the time. Denied, declined, denied, declined. It sucks. Sometimes you want to hear approved. Sometimes you want to hear accepted. But I'm here to tell you that you have already been approved. You are already flourishing and you already have the abundance. You just have to trust the process. You have to trust God and never forget that you will be a success in everything that you do. And that's why it's so important that you keep the pace, just like we talked about last week. And that's why it's so important, because when you keep the pace, then you're never going to forget about the things that gave you the fuel to start running in the first place. So that's my message this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Never forget the blessings that pushed you to the next level in the past, because those same blessings, that same God, that same faith in the past is the same thing that's going to energize you now and push you to the next level in the future. That's just the truth. I know it might be hard to grasp that sometimes, especially when you're frustrated and you're in pain. But what I'm telling you is, it's the truth, because I literally just went through it within a matter of 7 days. I don't even care about that grant no more. You know why? Because God has shown that I'm already favored. I have still been getting bookings. I have still been striving towards my goals. I have still been getting closer to accomplishing those goals, despite the fact I didn't get that grant. Life is still good. Business is still booming. Despite the bad days, it's still booming. The blessing business is still open, and it's never going to close. So let's continue to work. Let's continue to imagine reality. Keep the pace and never forget. If this podcast has benefited you in any way, shape, or form, I ask for 2 things as always. Number 1, leave a 5-star review. And number 2, pass it on to a friend who may benefit from it as well. Have a great day, everyone. I'll talk to you next week.